All right, before I go, there's one last thing I want to discuss, because videos I've done over the last week, there's been a lot of talk about two particular items, one involving Toronto and one involving Montreal. The Toronto Maple Leafs have stated, okay, our top four, they're staying together no matter what. We're not losing Nylander, Marner, Matthews, or Tavares, and Leaf Nation's excited, and they should be. But here's the funny part. For years, we've heard about how Taves and Kane making $10.5 million each means they can't build a contender. We've watched as teams have paid big money to players. Look at McDavid in Edmonton. And the criticism, and sometimes from Leaf fans, I'm not saying always, has been, well, you gave that guy way too much money. McDavid hasn't proved anything yet, so giving him $12 million plus, good luck ever winning the cup. It's a funny thing that happens, and I know it happens in every fan base, where we can see like cap issues before they rise with certain cities. For instance, Winnipeg right now has tons of cap space, but they have a lot of restricted free agents they have to sign, and when Line A is up, it's going to get really expensive for Winnipeg, and we can see that. Now, here's my last explanation on this issue. So we're going to get ready, we're going to get the van, we're going to go south of the border, and we're going to go to Vegas. And I haven't been on a plane since I was 3, so I'm a little bit nervous. Anyways, you don't watch every episode of Mayday and then get a plane ticket. I've watched every episode of Mayday for years, and I'm getting on a plane. Although I'm not breaking any of my rules, but that's for another time. I have rules about getting on a plane. There's research I have to do before I get on a plane. Anyways, the point is this. The Leafs do not right now possess a Stanley Cup winning blue line, and that's it. That's just where it is. And when people point out, well, look at Pittsburgh. Well, yeah, Pittsburgh, when they won the Stanley Cup, yes, they were without Letang, but they grabbed 3 guys at the deadline. They had 10 NHL-level defensemen who had experience going into those playoffs. And they also had Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, who had won cups previously, which the Leafs don't have that luxury. These kids are young. The expectation of, all right, now it's time to win the Stanley Cup, some kids struggle with that. Sakic didn't win the Stanley Cup right away. Yzerman didn't win the Stanley Cup for years. So the expectation that the Leafs will win a Stanley Cup is there, and I share that expectation. Absolutely share it. I think the Leafs will win a Stanley Cup. Do I think they'll be a dynasty? No, because I don't know that dynasties are possible right now. Now, do I also think that if Tampa finishes up and gets Erik Karlsson, that's going to make Tampa a favorite? Probably. But Tampa was a favorite last year, and Tampa was a favorite 2 years before that, and Tampa's pretty good at blowing it when they're favorites. So, until Stamkos has a Game 7 where he's fantastic, that could be a thing. But again, and Stamkos is one of those guys too, a very solid young forward who in the playoffs, it just doesn't work sometimes. And it's one of those things. And then with Montreal, when I'm doing a how bad is it, and it's funny because I don't practice, and I don't rehearse, and I don't have a script. There are other channels who clearly have scripts, and they have a bunch of different takes. And you can go through and you can review and you can do a bunch of different takes. Just with the nature of how this channel grew, with what I've done, I don't do a bunch of different takes. So for me to look at Montreal's roster and go, well, I don't see star players. Here's why. Carey Price, can we bank on him being hurt? There's a good chance. Price has had injury problems for a while. Pacioretty, he's on his way out the door, clearly. So Pacioretty, I don't know what they get to replace him. And Weber's out till December. So I'm looking at the roster going, And then, people mention, well, what about Mike Riley? Mike Riley had 8 assists in 19 games. Again, they need, and again, losing PK Subban is this massive gaping hole right now because the guy they got for him is out until at least December. And that hurts. So it's not me looking and saying, well, there's no stars on the board. It's, Price is going to be hurt. And I know Price said he's going to be healthy in the fall, but I don't buy it until I see Carey Price. And not only that, but at 31 years of age and with all of these injuries, how long is Carey Price going to be the Carey Price, the star Carey Price, the best goalie in the league Carey Price? Because if he falters and he ends up with a .915, .913 save percentage, Montreal's done. They don't have the offensive stars. People point out, well, Gallagher had 30 goals. Okay, he had 10 the year before. So is he going to hit 30 again? He could, but you know, you got to look at his averages over his career and sort of balance that out. Shaw's out. Shaw's not a star player, but does he help open up space for Gallagher as well? Does having Shaw and Gallagher on the same team drive other teams nuts so much that it makes it easier for Gallagher to do what he does and get some goals? Maybe. There's all kinds of different formulas to how this works. And, you know, it's as I've said with that series, it's a quick hit. It is not me previewing, it's not me doing a season preview. Season previews I put a heck of a lot more thought into, and they're longer videos, and I still will get absolutely berated over them. But it's a funny thing because, you know, it is a momentary reaction. It is just, here's how I feel about this. For instance, last night when I see Karlsson potentially traded to Tampa, Karlsson's going to Tampa, and everybody's losing their minds. And then Elliot Friedman says, no, I'm hearing it's not happening. And my favorite tweet, and I even retweeted it out, was Dorian just found out that Tampa's in his division, so he decided not to send him there. Which I thought was really funny because, of course, of the Mike Hoffman thing with Florida. And then somebody else tweeted, Karlsson's probably going to go to San Jose first, and then San Jose will get more for him anyways. It's just one of those things. So that's my explanation for both of those things. And I don't know how well I've done to explain it, but anyways, and I still expect all the downvotes, and you know what you're talking about. You're just a hater. No. No. What? No. See, here's the problem. You hate this team, so therefore you're going to say that it's not any good. I've predicted the Kings would win the Stanley Cup as recently as 2 years ago. I then said the backup for that was Pittsburgh. Going into last year's playoffs, I had Washington's going to win the Cup, and on a Patreon video I said, yeah, I really think it's going to be Pittsburgh. And so again, you know, if my vision's clouded by me disliking a team, then I wouldn't be predicting Pittsburgh's going to be up there. I wouldn't be looking at Pittsburgh's lineup and saying good things about it. And then this past postseason, when I saw some holes in the lineup, I spoke up about it. I said, you know, it's defense. I don't know. And again, I don't look at a lineup and go, ha, this is my chance to tear it apart. It's just me just taking an overlook and going, you know, this doesn't work. Or it does. In the case of the Detroit one I did this morning, I actually think Detroit could be one of those surprise teams that comes out of nowhere and makes the playoffs this year. And Montreal could too. Sure. But the Montreal needs a lot of things to fall their way. A lot. Absolutely a ton. Not even just a little bit, but a lot. And some teams get that. Colorado, this past season, makes the playoffs from last place in the NHL the year before. New Jersey, drafting first, back in the playoffs. So it happens. You know, but again, because I do it one take, I know, too, when I do these videos, there's times where people will get mad at something I said, and I'll go, oh, well, I didn't mean it the way that came out, but it's in there. And I leave it. Because when I start redoing videos and I start re-uploading and deleting videos, then I'm just second-guessing myself constantly. And it's going to take some of that organic experience out of it. There are plenty of times where while I'm recording, I go, nope, I hit the stop button, and I start over. I did that twice yesterday, and I did it once the day before, where I'm into a video, I'm almost done, and I go, I don't like this, and I start over. So it does happen. But anyways, there you go. My explanation of the cap thing, because again, if you're, and I'm going to say this again with the Leafs, if you've got your top heavy with your forwards and they're eating up a ton of cap space, it does get more difficult to put a blue line on the ice that can compete. And we can all pick and choose. You know, you can pick and choose when you talk about goaltenders. You can say, well, Philly made it to the finals in 2010, and look who their goaltenders were, which is fine. But it's not. It's not generally speaking, that's not the norm. I know in Vancouver, one of the reasons that I know that the organization has failed in '94 and 2011 and other times when they've looked pretty darn good. Part of the reason is because they've never really had that number one defenseman on that blue line. They've never had that Brian Leach. They've never had that Bobby Orr type. Even the Paul Coffey, who's all offense, began early in his career. They've never had that, and not having that presence on the blue line is huge. So, could Toronto win a cup? Yes. Are they going to? We'll find out. But I haven't even got to season predictions yet, and you know, I'm already looking at Toronto and going, you know, I mean, if Tampa gets Karlsson, Tampa probably ends up finishing first in the division. But if Tampa doesn't get Karlsson, and if Toronto, with the roster they have, goes into the regular season without other big changes to other teams, I think Toronto's the best team in that division, which means they're probably the best team in the East. So that's kind of weird. Anyways, there you go. There's my explanation. Now I got to get all my crap packed and get ready to broil for 5 days. So wish me luck with that. And thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And again, the moment that I put together a video and I feel like I'm showing a bias for or against a team, yeah, I'm in trouble. I was one of the few that picked Montreal to miss the playoffs this past season just based on their offense. But I picked Ottawa to make the playoffs, so I can't take a whole lot of credit because there's not a whole lot to take. I really thought Ottawa looked like they should make the playoffs, which is part of the reason why I'm kind of ticked off at what Ottawa's doing right now. Because it's not that bad, but they've made it that bad, and it's frustrating. All right, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.